Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing new Era 2 top tier Western Alliance premium tank destroyer Chieftain CTR. And boy do I love this tank. I played about 40 games in this tank and I really enjoy playing this tank. I think it's a really well balanced as well as good for the health of Era 2. Let's go over details while we go through this replay. What's the pro for this tank? It has great accuracy, great camo, not to mention the TD in Cold War get crazy camo boost with the equipment and smoke. Its premium shell is APCR. Most of the other two tanks has premium as heat, and it's not really that useful, but there are some tanks that has premium as APCR, and this is one of those tanks. And it really makes it stand out when you have to go through heavily armored tanks such as FV42011 and similar. Other than that, it has also very good DPM. It has great frontal armor. It is a casemate TD, so it's a fixed turret TD. However, the frontal armor cannot be penned. You can go hull down and you can just demolish enemies. Now this does not mean it doesn't have any weakness. It does have a weak hatch, and I didn't really know about it. As you can see it in this game, I overexposed myself and I got penned in this tank. So this makes this fighting against these tanks fun as well, because if this tank is hull down and if it had no hatch like FV4211 when it was initially released, it was very frustrating. But since hatch is a weak spot, you still have to be careful while playing this tank, otherwise you can easily get penned. Not to mention, since it's fixed turret, you can easily get around it. It doesn't have the best rotation either, as it is relatively slow for this era, but not slow enough where you'll get frustrated. So as this game started, I thought I will not get penned at all, and you can see hatch is very pennable. Once I realized that, I started playing safe, but not before I lost half my health. But once I kind of realized that you could actually play pretty safe even with the hatch when you make micro peeks, or if you're peeking around a corner where you could hide your hatch. For example, there's a rock in front of me, I couldn't hide my right side, so whenever I'm peeking to the left side of the rock. And even in other cases, if there are bushes, because this tank has great camo and it's very low profile, you can use bushes pretty effectively, as you will completely get covered in the bushes and they will not able to see you, and even if they can't see you, they can't see your hatch. So they might see the shells coming and blind fire you, but that will not do anything since they can't see the hatch, or they might not be able to see the lower plate either. Lower plate is also a weak spot and you can easily pen it, but with its 10 degrees of gun depression, you can easily play hull down without exposing your lower plate. So if you're fighting against this tank, unless it's exposed, it's easier to pen the hatch than it is to pen the lower plate, because the lower plate is not always visible. I had 3 decent games, and the good thing about it is all the maps are the OG Cold War maps. So this replay is really fun replay as well, because you don't see those redundant World War II reused map. The first replay is in Fredvang, the second is in Dezful, and the third is in Mannheim, and they're all really enjoyable games as well. So when this game started, I lost half my HP, but since then, once I adapted, I'm just farming, I'm just pumping damage, using that DPM, using that stealth to just free farm them, and if the enemy don't aim, if they are BRT, they will not pen me. And the best thing I like about this tank, well, I like a lot of stuff, but those are FV4211, they struggle to pen me, because most of those players, they earn that tank as part of season, and they basically are BRT the enemies. But if you're trying to pen the FV, you have to manually aim it, and it provides them an advantage. But this is one tank where FV can't RBRT and pen you, while you can easily go through his upper plate, his hatch, or his track wheel. So love fighting those FVs, and as you can see, I managed to easily just go through them like butter in this map. To utilize the maximum capacity of this tank, I had to create a special crew for this tank, and it does have the basic camo perks and equipment as listed in the description. So you can check out the description for all the setup. But what I would like to mention is I'm using clutch braking to improve my rotation for obvious reasons. And second, I'm using pain tolerance because I don't want to use medkit. And the reason for that is I usually use 3 consumables: large repair kit, large medkit, and food. But since it's a tank destroyer which get boost from huge boost from smoke due to its great base camo, I couldn't risk not running smoke. And food is the most useful consumable and the most powerful consumable, and I couldn't get rid of that either. And I couldn't get rid of repair kit because if this gets tracked, I need to fix it quickly. And hence I sacrificed medkit. But as long as you're using pain tolerance, you do not lose crew members because pain tolerance provides 20% crew protection and you can survive without it. I played about 40 games and I lost my crew in 2 of those games, and I was fine with that. So in this game, as you see, I made a mistake. I had smoke equipped, but me being a Cold War potato, I did not use the smoke in the end. If I had used smoke and drove into it, I would not have died there and could have killed the rest of their tanks. But nonetheless, a good game for Fredvang, but lesson learned. Similar thing happened in this map as well where I make a mistake. So now we are in Dezful and encounter spawned on the E2. I like going to the mid side in spawn in the Dezful, the center market area, but the other side has better spawn or advantage to contest that position. So I wasn't very optimistic if I can get to that or hold that position effectively unless I have enough support. So I started off in the middle, try to get, or on the lower side of the market, try to get some shots and some free early damage, as I know that I will not get spotted until I fire, and even when I do get spotted, they can't just pen me that easily unless they're aiming. Try to pen that Brennus, but I missed. I do have 14 standard shells, which I'm not sure why I added those. I think I was thinking about making silver at the time, since the earn rate's going to drop soon, and I had ×2 booster on. But essentially, I don't think it would have made a difference if I'm firing standard or premium, as long as I'm penning all my shots. The difference isn't that huge. So I'm making my way to the market since 2 of our tanks have managed to control the middle, and one of them died, but the other one is still alive, and I think I can help that tank. And since I now know that I have to cover my hatch, I can make peaks accordingly and survive longer, especially compared to the last game. And I was pretty confident that it'll be okay, and if something happened, I'll just fall back and they will not be able to rush me. So I managed to put a shot in medium. They're focusing on T55 Enigma. That's allowing me to just farm whoever I want. I'm also buying time for that medium, and at the same time feeding my hunger of just farming when no one's really paying attention to me. The Ignis made a mistake. He was too confident. He thought that he had an overmatch, but he didn't, as we are in mighty Chieftain CTR. And another reason I like this tank is because this tank is not easy to dig out or dug out. So it will slow the pace of the games. Era 2 is definitely a lot better compared to Era 3, so it's more enjoyable. But this tank, I don't think a lot of people will buy it. We'll go over that later. But this tank can really slow down the pace. So if I have one more tank with me, like in this instance we had a T55, or I had 2 more tanks with me, I can easily hold 5 or 6 tanks, even if they are light tanks, because the way I have set it up, the tank, I have quick rotation and it's difficult for lights to circle me as well. And that's why I like this tank. But I don't think many people will enjoy playing this tank because this tank doesn't have a bang factor. What I mean by that, it doesn't have a high alpha. It doesn't have missiles. So you don't get that satisfaction you get in Weasel when you go behind someone and just ammo wreck them. Or you have a very high alpha that you hit them for 1000, like a Tehran or a rock crawler. For a TD, it has average alpha. It's like an MBT alpha, but that doesn't make this tank weak because it does have the pen, the gun handling, the gun depression, and camo to make up for it. And personally, I prefer this tank's game playstyle compared to Ontos, Wolverine, or even Rock Crawler. I'm not a fan of missiles personally to begin with, and this tank fits perfectly not only into my playstyle but also, in my opinion, helps the matchmaking. I feel if 477 was somewhat like this tank, for example, 477 in Era 3 is broken mainly because it doesn't have a weak spot. However, this tank does. It has a weak hatch, not to mention it's a fixed turret. So if 477 had a hatch that could be penned, 477 would be good for the health of the game, as well as 477 does slow down games. But the problem with that tank is you just cannot pen it head on, and if you have to get around a tank to pen it, then that's not really a weakness. That's basically you throwing away your tank in the hope to get 1 or 2 pens and hoping that your team will come help you finish off that tank. So that's not a weakness in my mind. If someone's telling you, well, its side is weak, well, if that's the case, then every tank has a weakness, as you can go behind them and pen them with HE most of the time. In 477 case, actually the side is not weak either, it's at least the front half of the side. Enough about 477, but that's why I feel this tank is more balanced and more enjoyable, as not only I can do well when I'm fighting with the tank, but I also don't have much issue if I'm facing one of these tanks in another tank or the same tank, because as long as you're aiming, you won't struggle. But if you don't like aiming and RBRT most of the time and run around, then this tank is definitely not for you. You will not enjoy it because you can't just YOLO one side and jump on tank that are by themselves, as you don't have turret, and it's just difficult to YOLO in this tank. It's more of a holding tank or a brawling tank, and that's what happened here. Type 80 tried to push me, couldn't pen me, and another target or enemy deleted from the game. Now I make another mistake in this match as well. I think I thought at this point that I could get really high damage. I know M182 on the left side is healthy, 2000 plus, and I know this tank is distracted, so I try to finish this tank off, and then once I put another shot, I'll just go back in cover. But this is what happens with me. A2 just finishes me off. Like, I think he high rolled or emeraged me, and it was very unfortunate because after this, these two enemies, they couldn't do much. And to be honest, even our team struggled to pen them, and they kept bouncing off each other. So kind of a heartbreak where I thought I could hit 14k easily. I couldn't. Same thing happened with the first game as well. However, we did win this map. So for the final replay, we'll go to Mannheim. I used to hate this map when we only used to play 4 OG Cold War maps in Era 3. But since I don't play Cold War that often now I kind of do like this map just because I don't play it enough. But out of all the Cold War maps, my favorite is Dezful. Second is Camouflage or Fredvang. These are the, I guess, second or third, and the fourth one is Mannheim. It's an encounter. I go to the bridge, hoping to find someone, as I don't want to be the first one to rush because I see there are 4 light tanks. Even though one of them can't circle me, but if 4 of them jumps me or 2 of them, I will be in trouble. And that's the last thing I want. Dying without utilizing my armor or without giving it a fight. It's not that it doesn't happen to me, but it didn't happen this game. And I noticed they started putting cap pressure. My team is already ahead of me, and they have scouted the area. And I can safely assume that their team is not ahead of me, or not many of them are. They are trying to focus on the cap at this point. So just making my way forward so I can shoot them in the side while they're distracted. with the rest of my team. Finally found our first victim, and that is Leopard 2AB. Shot in the back and he's dead. Well, he was almost dead in the beginning, but we sent him back to garage. And the mobility of this tank, it's not the best, but you won't feel it sluggish. You can hit 50 on the flat ground. It is slow to accelerate like most Cold War tanks. It's really sluggish when you're going up the hill. But on a flat ground, you don't find it frustrating. And also the backup speed is not bad, as long as it's a flat ground. So let's see a bunch of targets in front of me, and I'm just farming for free as they're focused on another tank, allowing me to utilize my DPM. Scores 10-10. I got a hit from side. Not sure what that was. Oh, another fellow Chieftain. He is, however, not hull down. Mistake. Never be not hull down in this tank, as you're basically not in the best position. Not to mention he was also in the lower ground, so it was difficult for him to pen me, even hitting my hatch, as I'm using my gun depression and looking down on him, and he has to look up on me, and I can control my peaks. One of the key aspects while playing hull down is it has to be you that is controlling the peaks, not the enemy. And in most cases, playing high ground is better than low ground. So I managed to pen multiple enemies that were trying to cap, and another Chieftain just crossing casually, ignoring Chieftain. And at this point I realized there's a Jaguar full health by itself, and try to test how quickly I can delete this tank. Since he's full health, it has decent mobility and as a turret, so I really wanted to test if this guy can do anything to me, as it doesn't have premium APCR Jaguar, it has standard. So I put a shot on Jaguar. He realizes that I'm behind him, tried to rush me. Again, he RBRT and he couldn't pen, and that's a good thing I like about this tank. They just can't RBRT. Put another shot, tracks him, and he's down to 800. He thought he could circle me, but he couldn't. He did track me. Used my repair kit. That's the whole reason I had repair kit. So if I had to go for one-on-one engagement and I get tracked, I can quickly repair it. I also run track mechanic for the same purpose, and I think it's mandatory when playing fixed target tank destroyers. The score is now even. Another Jaguar crossing or strolling around the map, but it was time for me to send him back to the garage as well. We're now, well, not winning by one tank, back to 3-3, and usually these are the games you do well in, when either the team or the score is even, or your team is losing by 1 or 2 tanks, because that makes the enemy team more aggressive, and you can easily farm as they're driving into you. Another thing I would really like to mention again, if you want to make the best out of this tank, check out the crew and equipment I use in the description, as that worked really well for me, and I also made it special just for this tank because I didn't have any crew, as it's the first fixed turret TD that doesn't have the speed but has armor and can hold hull down. And yeah, I would definitely recommend using that. So this one tank remaining, Chieftain CTR, he is hull down, tried to pen his hatch. I bounced. Since I had HP, I'm full health, I decided to just go in anyway so that I can just hit his lower plate. But things were made easy by my teammate, who was trying to get around him, but struggled. I bounced my first shot, pen my second, ammo ragged him. The other teammate wants to ram me, but this one I just want to farm damage. And as you can see, even our that heavy tank couldn't really circle their Chieftain, as they're mobile enough where they can rotate quickly to avoid getting circled, as well as since the enemy has to aim at their hatch. That's not the easiest thing to do when you are moving and you basically survive. Good for me though, while he was distracted, with my teammates. I was able to finish him and managed to hit 11.9k damage. So that's it for today, guys. I definitely love the tank. I don't buy it at full price, but when it comes on 50% sale, I'm definitely looking forward to buy it. If you do enjoy this playstyle, it is definitely the tank that can do its job. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.